KJ na haharangin o iwa-water cannon ang isang Christmas convoy. Akala nung Chinese na harang nila, hindi nila alam may nakalusot. Ang amazing dyan, lumabas sa almost 1,000 international media outlets.
Right.
Medyo nakakatakot eh. Kung yung sinasabi na, this is our territory, umalis kayo rito. At saka, malinaw din na meron silang mga assets. Meron silang supporters sa loob ng bansa. Let us call a spade a spade. Let us call mga traidor as traidor para isumpa sila ng ating populasyon at ng susunod na henerasyon na dapat magtamasa sa kayamanan na yan. Clearly kasi pro-China ang mga Duterte. More than 90% ng mga Pilipino anti-Chinese aggression.
Right.
Perhaps more. Diba? Baka hindi na naman na-factor in dyan yung Gen Z at millennials. Basta ang nag-unfold ngayon collectively is their own political and physical survival kung manalo yung mga Duterte. Pero kung ma-impeach yung mga Duterte or si Sara at makulong yung iba nilang mga alipores, then medyo malilevel yung playing field. Pero kung hindi, then magkakaroon sila ng momentum going to 2028, then all the anti-Duterte forces have to consolidate against impunity, against crimes against humanity, against betrayal of national sovereignty. So, yun yung compelling basis of unity later on.
Welcome back dito sa latest episode ng Pilipinas 360 Degrees, and unfortunately, the second part of our discussion with ex-Secretary Ronald Llamas. Thank you very much, retired Secretary.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for partly behaving in the previous episode. I'm looking forward to more very dissented discussion dito.
Bored na nga ako.
Bored na. Okay, sige, Sir Ronald. Ayan tayo. Sir Ronald, ano lang, nag-warm up tayo. Medyo nasi-shock po yung production team natin. I think they didn't sign up for this. They thought two respectable gentlemen are gonna have a respectable discussion.
Relatively respectable.
Relatively, obviously. Thank you for that, Sir Ronald. Going back to dito sa nangyari sa Pilipinas, you were talking about dun sa previous episode about etong awakening, political awakening ng ating mga kabataan, especially Gen Z na hindi siguro nakaka-capture ng surveys or understudy that unfortunately dahil wala tayong matinong exit polls, if any at all, we're still in the educated guess game. Having said that though, nakikita din natin na nagiging more involved yung kabataan natin sa issue ng West Philippine Sea, sa issue ng ating karapatan sa ating mga karagatan, yung ating, basically yung dangal ng ating bansa, di ba? You have been, well, not directly, but indirectly an inspiration, I don't know what to call it, adjacent to the atin ito West Philippine Sea. Is that a proper? Adjacent to that movement.
Parallel.
Sige na nga, parallel to that movement. Sir, can you tell us, recently we just had the third, right? This is the third deployment, talagang plunging into the vortex of conflict. Very, very brave, very risky kasi days before there were even concerns na baka there will be some untowardly incident. China was already engaging in bullying activities. Nevertheless, thankfully, hindi lang smoothly nag-proceed itong latest atin to event. But this time was also different in the sense that you had people from civil society, K-pop, J-pop, I don't know, Indonesian pop. Also, the different people were there. Ako, honestly, Sir Ronald, I'm sure many were excited about the K-pop and all. I was excited with seeing people from the rest of ASEAN getting involved because, let's be honest, pagdating sa West Philippine Sea issue, parating andun yung statements ng UK, US, France, yung mga usual Western countries. Pero usually ang concern natin is we don't get as much solidarity from the rest of ASEAN region, including yung mga kapitbahay natin na at the receiving end of bullying. So I just felt that was a stroke of genius for you guys to get more and more people from the rest of the region involved. So can you tell me about yung role ng Gen Z and also yung engagement with our immediate neighborhood and beyond para we create that solidarity in the West Philippine Sea?
Well, from the outside, watching itong nangyayari.
Parallax.
Nung nagsimula yan nung Christmas convoy, nung December 10, 2023, International Human Rights Day, ang purpose nila ay i-assert na mga civilians, civil society ay may role dito sa struggle na ito. Hindi lang ito labanan ng dalawang bansa, dalawang military, no, etc. Ito ay labanan ng mga people ng mga mamamayan. Kaya yun yung kanilang initial purpose. At saka, tulungan yung mga frontliners natin na parang nakakalimutan. Sino ba yun sa frontline ng ating West Philippine Sea? Fishermen, Coast Guard, etc. At ginawa nilang cultural, pinackage nila na Christmas convoy. No? Papunta ng Ayungin, papunta ng BRP Sierra Madre. Sino ba naman ang KJ na haharangin o iwa-water cannon ang isang Christmas convoy na may mga parol, may mga baby in the manger, merong camel at saka deer, may three kings, merong Christmas lights, etc. Sino ba naman ang haharang nun? Diba? At makakatulong yan, hindi lang para galitin yung mga Pilipino, kung hindi ipakita sa kanila yung meaning ng pag-civilianize ng West Philippine Sea. Successful siya dahil kahit inarang yung mother boat, no, ay yung smaller boat nakalusot at naidala yung mga supplies sa mga family sa Lawak Island, dun sa mga pamilya ng mga Coast Guard at yung mga fishermen. Kaya yun yung na-highlight dito. Akala nung Chinese na harang nila, hindi nila alam may nakalusot, di ba? At ang mahalaga diyan, ang amazing diyan, lumabas sa almost 1,000 international media outlets.
Right.
Including Washington Post, Time, Newsweek,
Associated
Der
Press.
Spiegel, Associated Press, Reuters, no,
Making all the Europeans, di ba?
Le Monde, no, lumabas na at yung kanyang media cycle umabot ng 3 months.
Right.
Tinatalakay, nanalo yung mga documentary ng mga awards. Halimbawa, yung Catholic Mass Media Award na ginawa ni Gretchen Ho, nanalo, no? Best documentary.
And nominated for Asian Television Awards also.
Yes. So clearly, asymmetrical, clearly political judo, no? Clearly ay nailagay yung isang superpower sa isang sitwasyon na dami pido, dami pidon. No? At perhaps na-create yung framework how to engage ng weaker nations, weaker populations, yung pinakamalaki ang populasyon, pinakamalaki ang ekonomiya, pinakamalaki ang military sa buong mundo.
Right.
So yon. Ikalawa, ito ay purely mga mangingisda. Scarborough.
Right.
Scarborough. At ito ay puro fishing vessels na pumunta. Naisahan na naman sila dahil pinauna yung mga supplies. Kaya nakaabot yung mga gasolina, gamot, pagkain, damit doon sa mangingisda habang hinarang yung main convoy. Kita mo nga, the biggest, tawag nila, the monster ship ng China, yung biggest Coast Guard vessel. Andun, no, katapat ng ating mga bangka na nagdala ng resupply sa mga fishermen sa Scarborough. So, very graphic yung pictures, halimbawa sa Inquirer, Philippine Star, etc. Pero this time, more than 5,000 international media outlets ang lumabas. No? Yung unang convoy, nung na-meet ko si Chancellor Scholz, yung head ng German government sa Berlin, yun yung una niyang binanggit na lumapit siya sa akin. Nung na-meet ko si Macron accidentally sa isang restaurant sa Paris, yung La Rotonde. Paborito pala na yun. No?
Accidental, sir?
Accidental.
In what sense, sir? Like,
accidental. Nag-enjoy ako nun eh.
Parang ayaw ko maniwala there's anything coincident.
Ang binanggit niya. Ang binanggit niya yung Christmas convoy. Nung nagkaroon kami ng conference sa Spain, organized ni Prime Minister Sanchez para pag-usapan yung Gaza, yung genocide na nangyayari dyan at gumawa ng backdoor negotiations, yun ang kanyang binanggit. 3 yan na heads of state na na-meet ko, yung kagad ang binabanggit nila. Ibig sabihin, the whole world is watching. And they appreciate this David versus Goliath. Itong David na nakakapuing kahit paano. Diba? Kaya at itong political judo na ito. Kaya at itong ikatlo, ang problema na yata ng atin ito, they are the victim of their own success.
Right.
Ibig sabihin, kailangan something, again, out of the box. Again, something scaling up.
Mag-innovate ka constantly.
Ginawa nila, kaibahan nitong kanilang next convoy, third convoy, kasama na yung ibang bansa. Sabi mo nga, ang problema kasi sa ASEAN, least common denominator. Pag merong isang tumutol, hindi makakagawa ng posisyon against China, against Code of Conduct, etc. No? So, ang ginawa nila, yung mga mamamayan, fishermen from Malaysia, singers from Indonesia, singers from Malaysia and Korea and Japan. Meron nga dapat singer from Vietnam, medyo na ospital na operahan. So, magandang tradition yan na iset. Kung ayaw ng mga gobyerno, at
Right.
least yung mga mamamayan, yung mga isda, yung mga artists sumama. At ito yung simula niyan. Tingin ko hindi dyan magtatapos yan. At for the first time, a peace concert in the middle of a contested area. Sa sovereign waters ng Palawan, nagkaroon ng concert, may fireworks pa nga, pinakita doon sa kanyang Facebook ng atin ito. Tapos sa Pag-asa, 2 nautical miles from land sa Pag-asa, nagkaroon ng concert. At kahit bumagyo ng husto, nagkaroon ng squall, tinuloy nila. Tinuloy nila sa loob ng barko. At pinakita nila sa kanilang Facebook, website, etc. At
Tsaka
mga
yung favorite
reporters.
band mo, di ba?
Oh.
Ganda nung kanta nung finorward mo sa akin.
Oh,
Napaiyak yata yung mga journalist, no?
Yung Moro Beats nandun,
Right.
isang very raw rap band. Andun si Ebe,
Ebe,
yung
yeah.
paborito kong singer, dahil siya yung kumanta nung paborito kong kanta, yung Hari ng Sablay.
Yun.
Hari ng Sablay, no? Andun din yung kaibigan ko, si Noel Cabangon.
Right.
No? Andun yung Rouge, all female band na Pinoy.
Right.
Andun yung dalawang K-pop band na hindi mga basta-basta. Yung Horizon, the first Filipino K-pop band na nakatira sa Korea at napakataas ng ratings.
Parang SB19 style.
Oo, napakataas ng ratings. At saka yung Aimon na talagang all Korean girl K-pop. Nandun din si Fumi, yung Japanese singer na sumama dun sa Pinoy Big Brothers. So mga kwan dito, mga icon na hindi ko napapanood dahil kwan ako, Peter, Paul and Mary, tsaka Joel Baez. No? Pero
marami ka alam sa Miss Japan 1997 contest na nagkaroon na. Marami ka trivial information, Sir Ronald.
Yun. Lalo na yung natanggal.
Yan tayo. Sir,
pero yan, mahalaga yan. Dahil ngayon ay medyo regional.
Right.
At ito ay peace concert. Actually, inimbitahan ng China. Nagpadala ng imbitasyon sa Chinese Embassy 2 months ago.
Nagtutroll lang yata kayo sa China.
Mukhang hindi pinansin. No? Pero nagkaroon ng shadowing at saka radio challenge.
Right.
No? Sagutan lang ng Philippine Coast Guard tsaka yung Chinese Coast Guard and militia. Hinahamon. Sinashadow siya. Pero unlike nung sa una na talagang Chinese Navy tsaka Chinese Air Force yung lumilipad as well as Chinese Coast Guard, dito basically Chinese Coast Guard at tsaka shadowing. Siguro na-realize nila kahit ginugulpi yung atin ito sa social media ng China, ay na-realize nila, teka, ibang klaseng kalaban to. Hindi to pwedeng ibuli. Pag binuli, panalo yung binubuli. Pag hindi binuli, panalo rin sila. So, medyo circumspect yung naging strategy.
Ipit din sila ng konti, no?
Diba? Pero, todo ang banat sa social media nila.
Right.
No? Todo ang banat sa kanyang media. China. Saka yung shadowing at saka radio challenge, medyo nakakatakot eh. Pag yung sinasabi na, this is our territory, umalis kayo rito. Diba? Medyo kakabahan ka rin. Pero maganda at mukhang marami pa silang post activities na gagawin like Independence Day sa June 12, anniversary ng UNCLOS sa July 12, tapos Bonifacio Day sa November 30, mukhang meron silang mga activities na pinaplano.
Sir Ronald, going back to this, we have been discussing yung ating Philippine Revolution against Spain, yung ating resistance sa Amerika, tayong pinaka-first na anti-colonial revolution sa buong Asia. Nevertheless, many things went wrong along the way, just to summarize the Philippine history in the past 100 years. Sa tingin nyo ba, ito ay isang oportunidad para sa Pilipinas to rediscover its sense of itself, a kind of a sense of independence, kasi in fairness naman and pag-usapan natin yung whole of nation approach, kasi kung titignan mo yung ating military, no, yung Philippine Navy, yung Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine Coast Guard, as much as possible, sabi rin nila, we want to do it also on our own. Ayaw natin na ma-involve mga Amerikano because we know last year, the head of the Indo-Pacific Command, nandito siya sa Manila, sabi niya, pwede kami maki-patrol sa inyo or just over the horizon. Sabi niya, we want this to be parang a full Filipino operation, ownership. So now, obviously, that's the government position and we welcome that and we'll discuss that more. No? Kasi para sa isa ito sa mga very good surprises about the Marcos Jr. Administration compared to what many people were expecting or criticizing during the campaign period. But going back to this, Sir Ronald, how important do you think this is for the new generation, for the maybe older millennial, younger millennial, but also Gen Zs in terms of yung sense of patriotism. Kasi parang minsan pinagtatawanan na lang, wala naman nangyari. Parang I've seen many, like remember during the time of Duterte, pinagtatawanan si Ninoy, yung sinabi ni Ninoy na the Philippines is worth dying for, 'di ba? But that was a very poignant point, 'di ba, in our history, what Ninoy was willing to do. How important do you think is this West Philippine Sea challenge or resistance effort in crystallizing that sense of nationhood and patriotism?
Very important dahil nga dun sa a new emerging patriotism. Usually kasi nag-emerge yan kung merong
External
aggression,
challenge. Yeah.
external aggression or invasion. In this case, this was clearly an invasion. Dahil teritoryo natin, tinatayuan ng island, mga dating mga lifeless na bato, bigla naging syudad
Right.
sa ating territory. No? So this is clearly an invasion. Ito yung first time na nangyari ito since nung World War II, 8 years ago. Yung American bases, well, tinutulan natin yan, eventually napaalis natin. Pero ang problema dyan, there was a treaty, rightly or wrongly. Ito hindi, talagang pinasok tayo ng China. Kaya yun yung kaibahan, no? Sinasabi nyo, pwede nyo banatan ng US? Definitely, babanatan ng US kung merong gagawin sa atin na aggression, kung may gagawin sa ating domination, kung may gagawin sa atin na katulad ng ginagawa ng China. Pero sa ngayon, ang nasa loob ng ating territory, ng ating territorial waters na mas mayaman pa kaysa sa ating landmass, sabi ng iba, ay China. At don't mistake that for gumaganti lang sila. Yung kanilang aquatic mass ay ubos na. Kaya kailangan nila yung ating aquatic mass. Yung mga mineral resources na kailangan nila para maging gasolina sa kanilang industry at saka manufacturing, dito nila kukunin. Dahil ang daming mga kayamanan sa ilalim ng dagat. No? Natural gas, oil, etc. So, malinaw dito kung ano intensyon ng China. No? There are no ifs and buts about it. At saka, malinaw din na meron silang mga assets. Meron silang supporters sa loob ng bansa. Let us call a spade a spade. Let us call mga traidor as traidor.
Let us call our lawyers inside the room now. Tayo ma-libel case dito. Pakitawag yung mga abogado natin.
Wala naman tayong bilanggit ng mga tao. Pero yung mga traidor, banggitin natin ang mga traidor. No? Whether hypothetically sila ay ex-human rights lawyer, no? Ay tawagin natin sila for what they really are. Para isumpa sila ng ating populasyon at ng susunod na henerasyon na dapat magtamasa sa kayamanan na yan, di ba? Pero nagulat ako dahil last year, nagsalita ako sa mga Independence Day rally sa US, New York, Washington DC, New Jersey. Nagulat ako dahil sabi ko sa organizers, gusto niyo ba talaga magsalita ako rito about West Philippine Sea? No? Nagzuzumba yung mga PhilAm. Nag-enjoy, barbecue, lechon, nakakainan, no, etc. etc. Sabi ko, parang naman akong KJ dito. Sabi, hindi, tuloy-tuloy. Pag-akyat ko sa stage, lahat tahimik, nakikinig. Tapos pagkatapos ng speech ko, pinapasigaw ko sila. West Philippine Sea! Atin ito! Sumisigaw sila. No? More than 1,000 PhilAm, halimbawa sa New Jersey.
True.
No? Sabi nila, usually apathetic yung mga yan. Pero nung narinig yung West Philippine Sea, nabuhayan. Nakalimutan yung Zumba. Nakalimutan yung kanilang kinakain na masasarap, no? Dahil nagiging buhay na buhay ang patriotism pag nakikita mo na may invader. At mismo yung mga comfortable sa ibang bansa, nakaka-relate sila eh. Nakaka-relate sila. Nagulat ako, sumisigaw. No? Ako pa yung kinakailangan tumigil. Para sila ay tumigil, sumigaw. Ganun din sa 2 weeks ago, sa Rome, sa Milan, sa Vienna, ako, very patriotic itong mga ito na sinasabi nila na itong mga OFW, puro mga pro-Duterte na pro-China. Hindi totoo.
Yun yung maingay lang kaya nakita natin.
No, nagsalita ako sa mga Pilipino sa United Nations sa Vienna. Almost 400 pala yung mga Pinoy doon sa United Nations. No? Ganun sila kagaling.
Ay, mga staff, ang dami. Malaki tayong contingent.
So, gusto kong kontrahen yung mga narrative na hindi, lahat ng mga OFW pro-Duterte, which means pro-China, yung mga nandun sa DHEC, yun yung maiingay. Paano yung silent majority?
Paano yung mga sa akin, nakikipiknik lang yung iba, hindi naman
paano yung mga patriotic? Clearly kasi pro-China ang mga Duterte. Diba? Lang hindi na weaponize ang gobyerno, kaya yung mga nanalong senador, yung mga number 1 tsaka number 3, ay nagmukhang anti-China.
Sir, to be fair, it's not like the candidates of the other opposition also went after the Dutertes I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of food vlogs. I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of vlogs on education. I've seen a lot of great. Wala akong problema. That's great, important. Pero hindi naman pwede na yun lang. Sana sinama na rin ang mga mahalagang issue like West Philippines. Actually, I was very disappointed na sa election na ito, halos hindi lumabas yung West Philippines. There was only one candidate, no, na who used to have your job with Duterte. The Ronald Llamas of
Pero
Digong.
medyo late siya
Well,
nagsalita
yun nga eh.
no? Last month
Si
na
Senator Tolentino, right?
Last month. Dapat sinimulan
Tsaka
niya.
mag-isa lang niya.
Dapat sinimulan niya
Yeah.
last year, di ba? Pero ang akbayan, entire campaign, bumabanat sila dito sa mga
Right. Kaya nga atin to. Kayo rin niya. Akbayan din yun, di ba?
Pro-China, di ba? At hindi sila na-damage. No?
Number one
Nakinabang
pa nga.
sila.
Yeah, exactly.
Number one sila. The highest since the party list system was installed. So,
Exactly, yeah.
dapat ginawa yon ng iba pang mga anti-Duterte forces. Dapat ginawa yun ng gobyerno.
Oh, more like the pro-Philippines forces,
Yes,
di ba?
exactly. Pero, maganda yan. More than 90% ng mga Pilipino anti-Chinese aggression.
Right.
Perhaps more. Di ba? Baka hindi na naman na-factor in dyan yung Gen Z at
yeah.
millennials. Pero, para ma-sustain yan, you have to give itong mga Pilipino na they discover yung kanyang patriotism, not only something to fight for, but something to live for.
Right.
Bigyan mo
Ma-inspire
naman sila ng
yeah.
benepisyo. Bigyan mo na, taasan mo naman yung wages. Improve mo naman yung healthcare, di ba? Ipakulong mo yung mga kartel na pinrumisa na ikukulong, no? Mga smugglers, hoarders. Kung yung mga smugglers na pinapayagang mag-dominate sa Bureau of Customs ay pipigilan, bababa ang presyo ng rice. Kaya mataas ang presyo ng rice dahil dyan sa mga smugglers na yan. Sino ba nagpapapasok dyan sa mga smugglers na yan? Siyempre yung mga government officials, pati nila pinapayagan. Kung kailangan ng revamp, pang simula sa customs. No?
Yung mga basically yung mga departamento na may kinalaman sa mga gut issues. Mahalaga na
regulatory agencies
right,
like dyan sa Prime Water, yan LUA, no? Anong ginagawa niyan? Sa kuryente, yung mga ERC, NEA, anong ginagawa niyan? No? Buti na lang natanggal yung Secretary of Energy, pero bakit nilipat sa DNR?
Wait lang, data natin guys. I think
kinukulit ko lang.
No, but my point, Sir Ronald, here is yun nga like ito yung difficulty nowadays, no? Like, on one hand, you wanna scrutinize the government, you wanna fiscalize the government. At the same time, this is a government also that is fighting for the West Philippine Sea. And then the closest alternative to this government is the fear na babalik, basically yung Team China, allegedly, right? So how do you balance that? Is it about constructive engagement? Because some people are saying maybe the way forward is for the genuine opposition to have that kind of judiciousness, to understand na, of course, you have to fiscalize the government. Trabaho nila, obligasyon na yan. And I think President BBM, in fairness, also got the message, or at least he said that in a podcast episode recently. But how do you balance that? Because I think we have been very clear about this. Sa aking palagay, yung kritisismo ng budget ng gobyerno, no matter how legitimate it was, I think it really got out of control when suddenly it was called as like the worst budget ever, most corrupt budget ever. Like, how can you say that? Parang, hello, like, formally, hello, like, and I feel that was weaponized by the Duterte side. So how do you make that kind of balance? Ang hirap, di ba? Medyo difficult siya. Yeah.
Dalawa kasi yung labanan. Kalahati ay messaging, narrative. Kalahati ay substance.
Right.
No? Usually, yung messaging mo at narrative, pinanggagalingan niya yung substance. Kaya nga, dapat dyan reform package, dapat dyan mga commitment sa SONA, ginagawa, di ba? At ikalawa, yung revamp. Dahil nag-i-implement, nagpapatakbo ng gobyerno, itong mga cabinet secretaries, na for a long time, hindi mo masyado marinig. No? At parang hindi nila ina-absorb yung mga banat sa presidente. Parang yung presidente nag-absorb. No?
To be fair, yes,
kaya
President BBM, yeah.
Medyo kailangan talaga niya mag-revamp. Long overdue na yung revamp na yan eh. Nung nangyari yung dissolution ng unit team, dapat nag-revamp ka na dahil maraming doon sa mga kasama sa unit team na mortal na kaaway mo na, nasa loob pa ng gobyerno.
Although natanggal yung iba.
Isasabotahe ka nun. No?
Yung Solicitor General, medyo natanggal. Yung isa sa Chen.
Yung mga sa GOCC, exactly. Mo na, yung mga nasa mga bureau, yung mga undersecretary, dapat talaga linisin mo yan dahil binabanatan ka sa loob as well as sa labas. No? Kaya long overdue. Pero ngayon, sana tuloy-tuloy na. hindi pwedeng by increments,
I'm
by
thinking,
increments.
Sir Ronald, I mean,
Oh.
you tell me, isn't the way probably forward is, on one hand, of course, yung admin dapat ayusin yung communications, make sure na they'll go on the offensive, yung mga krimen na ginawa ng dating administration, allegedly, yung issue ng impeachment, at the same time, ayusin din nila yung sarili nilang
Substance.
exactly
no?
substance part. But you said
parang where's the
something.
beef?
But
Halimbawa, itong usapin sa
Mm.
West Philippine Sea, gamitin mo na yan. Laban sa
Right.
mga traidor, inside and outside government.
Because the government's doing the right thing, in fairness, sa West Philippines, palaban sila.
Ang ganda ng positioning mo.
Yeah, exactly.
Pero, nawe-weaponize mo ba?
Right.
Bakit puro mga
Leverage,
pro-China
yeah.
yung mga nananalo? Di ba? From Bongo to Marcoleta to Bato, no? To Aimee. No? Dapat na 90%.
Sabi lang naman nung isa, walang West Philippines sa map, naging
90%
pro-China na.
ang anti-China, tapos hindi mo na kumbinsi yun na wag iboto itong mga pro-China na ito. Ibig sabihin, may problema ka sa messaging at saka sa strategies. No? Parang cabinet revamp. Kung magka-cabinet revamp ka, ang pinanggagalingan niyan is a framework. Na ito yung tatanggalin mo, pero a framework na pipiliin mo, ito yung ipapalit mo. Diba? Ganun yan eh. No,
You said something like Vince Dizon also has a good messaging at least strategy. We can debate about.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll probably have him on this show discuss on his side just to get his side. But he worked for you also, right?
He was my undersecretary.
Exactly. So
bago siya naging chief of staff ni Senator Alan Peter.
So maybe in fairness, he's making a lot of noise at least. Some would say even substance.
Nagsimula siya sa mga low-hanging fruits para magmarka. Tapos hinahaluan niya ngayon ng mga big ticket projects. Halimbawa yung usapin sa fast train na dapat daw itayo na natin, yung usapin sa North Rail, yung usapin sa subway, hinahaluan na niya. So ini-intersperse niya yung mga low-hanging fruits na magmamarka immediately at yung mga long-term projects na sana matapos before the end of term sa 2028. So ginagawa niya yan. At saka hinahatak na ang presidente sa kalsada. No, isang araw hinatak na sa MRT, hinatak na sa bus carousel. So tingin ko,
in fairness,
whether ikaw ay against or pro-government, that's the way how to do it, di ba? Dali mo sa kalsada. Pero yung mga cabinet secretary mo, ba't wala sa kalsada? No? Ngayon, puro press con nila para nakakaramdam sila.
Maybe it's because the president wants to set the tone first. I mean, I think even Malacanang said something like they want that kind of fresh, dynamic energy from at least what they're seeing from your former undersecretary, right? At the current DOTRC. Again, we can have a debate about substance and policy. It takes time. Pero, aminin natin, if there's one thing that worked for the Duterte is that what I call yung performative governance. Diba? Kasi, let's be honest, it's not like people really will go into the grand numbers. It's what they see, headlines, quotes. It matters.
Halimbawa,
unfortunately,
pag-postpone nung traffic scheme pinopost nila. Parang ang dating ay, very nakiki-empathize ang presidente sa mga commuters.
Responsive. Empathetic.
Nararamdaman niya yung kanilang discomfort at saka pain dahil nandun siya, pumipila siya. So, ganun yung mensahe. Whether that is true or not is another thing. Pero yun yung dating sa mga tao. Kaya, baka kinakailangan nila more of that. At mukhang nag-spearhead niyan si Secretary Dizon. No? Dahil,
yung ganyang messaging.
Dahil he knows his stuff.
And he worked during the Duterte administration, so he knows his stuff.
Tatlong gobyerno ang kanyang pinagtrabahuan.
From your...
So, medyo may kwansya. May
expertise.
Mahabang PC na how to do it, no? Actually, kasama ko siya nung minute namin si Secretary Jimenez tungkol sa No to Wangwang.
Oh, right. I remember. Those were the days.
Na nagmarka. Diba? So,
100%.
Alam niya kung ano yung gagawin. So, baka more of that para sa presidente.
Yeah, I mean, just kasi...
Diba, sinabi ng presidente sa kanyang dalawang zona, dudurugin ko ang kartel, dudurugin ko ang smugglers, at saka dudurugin ko ang mga hoarders. Napakahalaga pag nagawa niya yun. Pero kahit hindi pa niya magawa fully,
show something.
Makita niya na meron nakukulong, meron nawawasak.
Right.
Dahil papunta na siya sa kanyang fourth defining zona. Anong sasabihin niya sa report card?
Right.
Nagawa ko ito. Dalawang zona yan, ha?
But if you're BBM, you can also say that one reason siguro hindi ko nagawa yung mga gusto kong gawin is because dinidestabilize ako. Diba? I mean, the Dutertes are destabilizing every day.
Pero pag ikaw ang presidente, mahirap magpaliwanag sa presinto eh.
Well, Pinoy did that until his last zona. Pinoy was still blaming Arroyo. I remember that very well. And that was our topic actually with Tito Boy. I remember back in the day.
Pero you can only do it so much dahil the buck stops with you.
Sure.
Diba? Kaya nga nung ikalawang zona niya, binitawan na niya yun eh. ang pala niya ay kailangan natin gawin ito, no? Ganun. Pero interspersed with that, sinisisi mo pa rin yung previous government, lalo na kung 9 years yung previous government, di ba? At marami mga scandals. Pero yung dominant message mo, anong gagawin mo?
Right.
Because you will be judged for that. No?
So there's obviously the butter issue, which is like yung economic issue, gut issues, infrastructure issue. But there's also the guns issue, which is harapin mo yung kalaban mo na medyo medieval. Is tayong dalawa, I mean, we are consistent about this. We have been quite critical na feeling natin there's a little bit of, to put it mildly, conflict avoidance, if not diffidence. But there's some people, including some people who work during your administration, have been saying, well, I look at the body count, like Kibuloy, Digong, Teves. Like maybe it's not like one person being fox and lion a la Machiavelli, but one person being the fox and putting lions in charge of doing the stuff, right? Or more like speak softly but carry a big stick in a Rooseveltian sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, that could be the positive or someone would say over-optimistic interpretation. But that could be also true, right? Or at least that could be the strategy moving forward.
Yes, pero mahalaga kasi sa strategy, mahalaga sa body count, nag-i-improve yung approval ratings mo.
Right.
Mahalaga sa body count ay nanalo ka sa midterm election. Diba? Or else, what was that for? Dapat yun ay value added sa'yo. Bakit hindi value added? Was it the messaging? Was it the
or lack thereof? Or lack thereof messaging?
Diba?
Yeah.
Is it the leadership? No, etc. Yun yung purpose ng cabinet revamp. Pag may ganyang klaseng unraveling, ay mag-revamp ka para ipakita mo na willing ka gumawa ng reset. Willing kang tumanggap ng mistakes. Willing kang mag-reform dahil ganun yung purpose ng revamp na dapat ginagawa regularly. No? Yun yung ano.
But then again, I mean, President BBM has a special problem, right? Because talagang kalaban na yung DDS base, diba?
Yeah, it's a
basically
open warfare.
That's
it's a mortal.
20, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So 20 to 40% is basically done. Like good luck Mindanao, good luck. So that means ang pwede lang niya i-expand na base are either liberal progressives, which is going to be very difficult, and the undecided, which is probably 25 to 30% of the population, right? So obviously the undecided makes sense in terms of what you said, which is ayusin mo yung mga basics, maybe you'll win them over. These are the people who are neither DDS nor with the administration. They're kind of, non-partisan. But do you think it's important that there's also an understanding, tactical alliance, grand coalition, whatever you want to call it, also with the pinks and progressives, whether it's on the Sara impeachment issue, whether it happens or not, whether it's on maybe another ICC arrest is in the books, maybe could be other important issues. Do you think that's an inevitable path that has to be taken by the government? Kasi yun nga, you lost na that 20 to 40%. Malaki yun eh. So basically, you're left with this 60%. And dito sa 60%, we can say 15 to 20% could be also the pink base for that matter. Diba? Yun
Definitely. No, na may iba't iba kang impulses galing sa populasyon. Hindi mo pwedeng maliitin yung pink wave na nag-scale up during the midterm elections. No? Ikalawa, yung mga natitira sa'yo na kinakailangan mong i-rally. Katulad ng ginagawa ng mga Duterte doon sa natira sa kanila. Tapos meron kang lumalaki na soft voters or undecided in the absence of scientific data analytics, ay kailangan mo mahatak yung soft na yan, yung mga undecided na yan. Tapos meron kang mga disenchanted sa unity team na nakakuha ng record high number of votes noong 2022. So yung mga disenchanted na yan ay sa'yo mapupunta, mananatili sa'yo, o mapupunta sa mga Duterte. So iba-ibang kanyan na
strategy,
segments. Iba-ibang stratification yan. Pero kinakailangan mo lang general strategy at saka specific strategy sa bawat stratified na mga segments na yan, di ba? Katulad ng iba't ibang mga rehiyon, iba-iba yung strategy mo. Pero may general strategy ka against impunity. May general strategy ka about national sovereignty.
West Philippine Sea.
May general strategy ka about massive corruption. Pero i-specify mo yan halimbawa sa Gen Z, halimbawa sa millennials, halimbawa sa boomers katulad mo, no? Halimbawa sa
young boomers, old millennial.
So igaganon mo yan, no? But who is doing that?
Right.
No, who is doing that from the government?
There has to be that center of gravity.
Yes, sino yan, no? Hindi naman yan kaya ni E.S. Bersamin.
Yeah.
Hindi naman yan kaya ni Anton Lagtameo. Siyempre, wala rin naman yan sa wherewithal ni First Lady.
But
No?
some
who's doing it?
would say, what about Trillanes coming in? I mean,
Yes,
his name is popping up a
yes,
lot.
meron siyang capability at wherewithal para gawin yan, no? Kung ginawa nga niya yan before the elections as a member of the cabinet, halimbawa political affairs, ay may impact yan. Actually, ginagawa na niya yan habang tumatakbo siya sa Caloocan.
Informally, in a
pero
general
ngayon may
sense,
1-year ban siya.
independently, yeah.
Pero gawin niya not as a official of the government but unofficial.
Right.
Tapos after 1 year, tsaka siya pumasok. So, people like Trillanes can do that or at least be part of a team na
Exactly.
gagawa niyan. Pero for now, sa vantage point ko, wala akong nakikita. Na
May kulang. There's some vacuum.
Walang assessment, walang strategy, at walang mga tao na dapat gumawa nung dapat gawin.
Well, probably the normal advice would be, kasi the Pinks and the Liberals were the ones who fought for 6 years against Duterte. So they have the knowledge. Trillanes, obviously, as a progressive liberal, he has the knowledge in ways that the loyalists would never have because they were allies with the Dutertes, right? So that's why inevitably there'll be some interface, but maybe tactical in principle, especially.
And eventually,
Yeah.
Kung hindi ma-impeach si Sara, there might be a united front of all
No
anti-Duterte
choice
forces
siguro
going
yan.
to
Yeah.
2028.
Popular front.
Diba?
National front.
Kung ma-impeach si Sara, perhaps malelevel yung playing field, maraming tatakbo. Pero sa ngayon, hindi mo na pwede i-count out yung Pink dahil they are now a contender for 2028. Or at least
Kingmakers.
or at least
Potentially.
bahagi
Yeah.
ng significant part of a broad coalition.
Let's talk about that 2028, right? So as it stands, mukhang malabo na ma-convict si Sara, but you never know, right? But the only question is that, like, is she gonna go into 2028 if ever she's not found guilty, is she gonna go there in a strong resurgent position or a semi-damaged politically position? Those are obviously, each of those scenarios will have their own counter strategy. Pero what's clear here is that yung Pink din hindi monolithic, diba? Riza Ontiveros represents a very different kind of a brand and approach to progressive governance kumpara sabihin natin kay Bam or Lenny na more centrist, non-confrontational, even a bit conservative on some social issues kumpara mo naman dun sa, for instance, LGBTQ and divorce, other issues where Riza Ontiveros is much more center-left, diba? As early as now, I'm hearing words about like primaries. But primaries happen within an established political party. As of now, everyone is, singing to their own tune. So, heading into 2028, what do you think is important for the Pink movement so that they're not just parang minority player, but they're a legitimate third force? But to do that, they have to first consolidate their base. Diba? Yun yung sinabi ni Percy Sendanya, Congressman Sendanya sa atin.
Yes, yun naman ang strength tsaka weakness ng isang movement. Kaya ang tawag Pink movement eh.
Yeah. Hindi Pink Party.
Mas inclusive siya.
Yeah.
Baka ang model mo para sa isang centralized consolidated party ay Communist Party of the Philippines na humihina.
Wag tayo
humihina, di ba? Humihina,
Yeah.
no? At yung mga ibang
Bakit kaya? No, actually, that's a good aside.
Dahil
Why did they perform so bad?
Pag humina ang armed struggle, humihina rin yung political movement. Humihina rin yung mga
mobilization,
United Front,
yeah.
no? Humihina rin yung mga negotiations sa mga mayors, di ba? At yung red tagging nakatulong diyan, no? Pero yan ang pwedeng centralized na hindi na kailangan ng primaries diyan. Pero as a movement, iba yung processes nyo. As a movement, iba yung ibig sabihin ng inclusivity. No? At yan ay may proseso ng pag-uusap. Pero ang kinakaharap kasi nila is their own political survival or even physical survival. Kaya sooner or later, they have to consolidate, no? Around a leader, a candidate, around the strategy. No? Sana gawin din yun ng ibang mga forces para pag nagbuo ng United Front, meron kang pinanggagalingan, di ba? Ito yung iyong pananaw, ito yung iyong standpoint, at sa negotiations, yun ang dadalin mo. Kesa yung wala kang dadalin, panggulo ka doon sa United Front.
Right.
Kung meron kang dala, at least may basis for negotiations. Basta ang nag-unfold ngayon collectively is their own political and physical survival kung manalo yung mga Duterte. Hell to pay yan.
Sure.
That will be hell to
Yari
pay.
lahat,
No?
yeah.
Kaya yan yung possibility. Pero kung ma-impeach yung mga Duterte or si Sara at makulong yung iba nilang mga alipores, then medyo malilevel yung playing field. So meron kang iba't ibang forces na magko-contend for 2028. Pero kung hindi, then magkakaroon sila ng momentum going to 2028. Then all the anti-Duterte forces have to consolidate against impunity, against crimes against humanity, against betrayal of national sovereignty. So yun yung compelling basis of unity later on.
And for the pinks, how to make sure hindi magkaroon ng divisions, hindi magkaroon ng essentially reversal of the momentum. Kasi in fairness, Sir Ronald, mukhang buhay pa rin ang pink movement.
Yeah, well, first they have
has
to
to be
harness.
nurtured. Yeah.
They have to harness the pink wave, the pink movement na hindi naman namatay since 2022. At significant qualitatively as well as quantitatively yun na-deliver. At ngayon, nakita rin natin na significant pa. Pero kailangan may tumayong leader para i-harness yan. At pag na-harness na yan, then magkaroon ng tinatawag mo na semi-primaries. Dahil hindi naman sila political party.
Exactly. Yeah.
So medyo interest groups, medyo organized groups, mag-uusap-usap, sino ba ang pwede? Sino ba may fighting chance? No? Sino ba yung, kung ito ang katapat, mas malakas siya. Pero depende yan kung sino katapat eh. Kung ito ang katapat, baka iba yung kailangan. Pag ganito ang katapat, perhaps iba yung kailangan. So, yan ay ipoprocess sa loob. No? At sa ngayon, ang leadership niyan, si Leni at si Risa. Pero noong 2022, pinasa ni Leni yung leadership kay Risa. At nitong midterm, si Risa yung campaign manager ni Bam at saka ni Kiko, no? At saka ng iba pang pink forces. So, nung nag-scale up si Risa na sinabi niya, I'm open, yun, very, very tactical as well as strategic yan. Kailangan may mag-harness nung na-deliver ng pink wave, ng pink movement dito sa midterm.
Right.
Kailangan may tumayo. Ngayon, kung siya ang talagang sa dulo, ang pipiliin, then that will be the result of a process. Pero based sa ganyang klaseng pagpasa ng leadership baton ni Leni as campaign manager at saka the only surviving opposition sa Senate, no, ay pumunta ka na. I-harness mo na yan. Dahil naghahanap yung mga bata ng leader eh. Naghahanap yung mga bata ng kanino ba kami mag-identify.
Right.
No? Without
yeah.
preempting the possible candidate ng Pink sa 2028.
And sir, if you were like, alam ko mahilig tayo magbanat, but at the end of the day, they say, whether you voted for the guy or not, I mean, the success of the president, the success of the country. And let's be fair, I mean,
lalo na ngayon na may lumalabas na naman ng mga Revgov.
Yeah, exactly. Yun nga eh.
Mutiny.
Exactly.
We have to defend the constitutional order.
Exactly.
Whether we are opposition or administration.
And on that note, in fairness to President BBM, he has turned out much more, assertive in the West Philippines than many people initially anticipated. You can just look at the writings before the election concluded 2022. On EJK issue, other human rights issue, we have seen improvements, obviously not ideal. On the economic issues, we have already discussed that. But if you're Ferdinand Marcos Jr., on what note do you want to end in 2028, considering even by Philippine standard, the dramatic turn of events? I'm not sure. I mean, you work for President Pinoy. He had to deal with the Arroyo challenge. He had to deal with a lot of problems. But dealing with Duterte's allies turned nemesis, the ICC issue, Kiboloy, I mean, so much and now he's taking on China also while navigating relations with Trump. I'm not saying we should pity the guy, but I'm just saying like it's an incredibly difficult position. So if you're BBM, on what note do you want to end in 2028 to say to yourself, I don't care what the surveys say, but I can tell to myself I succeeded?
Well, Pinoy is not a perfect president. No? Tanggap naman niya yan. Pero ang strength niya ay he leads. No, tatanggapin niya ang pagkakamali, pero sasabihin niya, then we move on, we move forward. Pero i-harness niya yung troops. Ito yung aking mga kasama. Right, yeah. Ito yung mga kalaban. No? Igagano niya. So, yun ang dapat din gawin ni PBBM. Lead. Lead. Huwag mong i-demoralize yung troops mo. Huwag mong bigyan ng bala ang iyong mga kalaban. Lead. No? Dali mo ito sa logical conclusion. No? Pero to do that, hindi pwedeng rhetorics lang. Kailangan may substance. Kailangan give Filipinos something to fight for, as well as something to live for. Right. Then, we will be leading from a position of strength. Baka dun yung kulang.
But still, at least he has 2 or 3 years more.
Yeah.
On that very constructive note, Sir Ronald, talagang mabait talaga tayo today. I don't know if it's the Greco-Roman design or is this, but I hope to see more of this version of you, Sir Ronald, before we go back to our normal version. On that note, thank you very much for joining us dito sa latest episode. I almost said R&R, but basically it's an R&R Pilipinas 360 coming together. I hope you look forward to more discussion, not only with secretaries, we're going to talk to other secretaries, including yung mga binabanat ni Ronald subtly. Subtle and Ronald don't go together, but usually, but today it kind of went together. But I hope you'll also look forward to next discussion with other ex-secretaries, especially our favorite ex-secretary, Secretary Ronald Llamas. Thank you so much, Ronald.
Salamat. Anytime.
Thank you so much, guys. Maraming salamat.